your nose right in there and having a good sniff around. The Monday Scrum.
Welcome, scrummagers. Welcome all. Hello and welcome. Adam Peacock here next to Brent Read.
Oh, hey,
On
mate.
the Monday Scrum. Good,
Oh,
Ready.
good.
Last year, first introduced.
Queensland won the Origin. Did you see that?
You an England cricket fan as
The
well.
women's
Moral
Origin.
victory.
Women's count,
Ah,
mate.
the women's Origin,
We
yes.
won.
That
We're
was
back,
a good
baby.
performance. That was a very good
They were
performance.
very good.
Very
too.
good.
Great
Strong.
performance.
Very
Great series, actually.
It was a great series.
Yeah.
Jason Demetriou as well down the end. You're in James Graham's
Yes.
seat today, JD. It's
Yeah,
just
just
taken
let me
over.
in.
Nice smell
He's
or
got a few
something.
seats these days, so he's letting me borrow this one.
Little
Thanks.
inside
Thanks,
pass.
Jimmy.
Yeah, and that, it just it feels like a different studio, but it's not.
Are you feeling any intimidation now? Any kind of difference, a point of difference, given you're sitting straight next to Reedy?
Probably starting to understand why him and former panelist Aaron Woods were so
Abrasive?
yeah aggressive towards one another in group chats, and
do you say?
you
Too close to each
giving
other.
something off.
Vibe. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The seduce and betray cannot be taken away. Can it? You don't like that,
Just
do you?
coming close.
You
Jimmy.
don't-
Just
you
coming,
don't.
coming close, Jimmy.
You really don't like that seduce and betray line, do you?
No. I like it, yeah, but
You like
I
it?
just don't agree with it.
Now, at the bottom of the rundown today, Reedy, we'll give you time to get used to the idea that we're going to grill you on Queensland and how many changes they're going to make.
Oh,
Okay?
that's fine.
So we'll get to you a bit later on.
Well,
We'll
you
start
know
with
why?
club
You know
footy.
why responsible, Pete?
Yeah? Oh, we are
We are
Queensland.
Queensland.
Whatever that.
We're
Hell,
still,
that, mate.
we're
We're
still
still
Queensland.
Queensland.
Yeah.
We're still Queenslanders, haven't
We'll get to that a bit later on. But we're going to start with club footy. And JD, Cowboys. So that was probably not a win budgeted for. Perhaps swung their favour with a few outs for Penrith. Regardless, got the job done in very foreign conditions. Cold, wet, miserable there out at Penrith. Big win. And we're trying to work out, we've got the table in front of us today. So while we're mid-origin, club footy still counts. And at the moment, there's not much sense to it all because there's this pack. And the Cowboys, are they the most likely to jump out of this pack and put pressure on the current top four?
Yeah, I think so with their run home and the amount of games they're playing in Townsville for the back end of the season. But I was saying earlier that they had a big win a couple of weeks back when they had their Origin players missing and the guys come in and had a really good performance, and then the Origin players come back and they had a poor performance. So it'd be interesting to see if any of those guys have put their nose in front and keep their place in the side when some of those Origin boys come back. But, Jake Clifford's been outstanding for him in the 2 games he's played and killing it for the Northern Pride in the Queensland Cup. So all those talk of Townsend moving on, they've got a handy replacement there as well, is going to keep them on their toes.
So that their run, guys, Manly home, Dogs home, Cronulla home, Tigers away, Leichhardt, favourite place, Ready?
Love it.
Brisbane home, Canberra home, Melbourne, Dogs away, Melbourne's at home. It's not intimidating. It's some few good sides in there, Jimmy, but it's not the scariest thing you've ever seen in your life.
No, and the Cowboys, they're sitting pretty on 9 wins. They're a very difficult team to get a read on, though. Like, you don't know which Cowboys are going to turn up.
Well, you look at their for and against.
Well,
Jimmy,
that's it.
Jimmy,
That's
I would have said that 2 months ago, but they've won 5 of their last 6. They've been pretty consistent the last.
I think that's what I liked most
month
about their
and a half.
performance on the weekend was their defence, and it has been improving over the last few weeks. So if they continue, because there's points in that team, there's points everywhere. As long as Drinkwater's touching the footy, they've got points in them. But if they can tighten their defence up, because they're the worst defensive team so far in the top 8 for the season, so if they can tighten that up from here on in, then they're going to be tough to beat. It's a fast track up there, but they got to get their defence sorted. If they do that, they're a big chance of making the top 4.
They're locked in the top 8. They've got 9 wins already. You only need to win 3 more games. I think they're locked in. Lock them in.
Yeah.
12 and 12 will get you there.
Write that
Just
down,
about.
producer Charlie. Write that
You
down.
might
We'll
need
come
to
back
win
to that.
13, depending on your
13
for and
or-
against.
Yeah,
Depending on your for and against.
and especially with a couple of those sides, the Seagulls and the Warriors with draws. I even at 13, I think they'll get to that considering their draw. They'll be fresh as well with still 2 buys up their sleeve.
Well, 4 of their last 8 gets them in there.
Well, you could say that for the Dragons and the Bulldogs as well. They're on 8 wins each. They only need 4 in the remaining 9 rounds.
Okay, it's probably got to be. You've probably got to win 13.
I
I reckon it's going to be a bit tight this year.
This year's comp with genuinely all the way down to the Warriors who are in 13th in the mixer. But just back to the Cowboys, JD, you're 100% correct. and you are as well, really, with, yes, they're back in form, but to your point, JD, their defence has let them down at times this year, and they have lapses and moments in games where they just don't look like they're as enthusiastic about that side of the game, which they're going to need to be, especially if they want to break the top 4. They will have aspirations internally on 9 wins to take one of the spots of the Sharks, the Roosters, or Penrith, or, well, I can't see anyone getting... I can't see Melbourne dropping out of the top 4 now.
Jody, is it hard to change? It's hard to tell with the ins and outs, and you don't know exactly what they work on and what exactly their system is and their triggers and everything like that. But defensively, midstream, to fix something, like mid-season, this is where you set yourself in off-season, I'd imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do mid-season. For me, when you're bringing in a new defensive system or structure in terms of how you want to work, it takes probably, I would say, 18 months to 2 years to get it to the point where everybody's dialed in, knowing exactly how it works for them and how they defend in it. And I remember I took over the defensive role in 2020, midway through the year when I was with Wayne, and and we built throughout that year. And then in 21, we had another full preseason, and it built again.
But didn't they? When did they change the 6 again rule? When did that come in?
That came in 22, did it? The 6
No, 2020.
No, it came in 2020 when they had the COVID break, didn't they?
Yeah.
They just decided, no, we'll do it now.
That's right, it did, yeah.
That must have been fun for a defensive coach to comprehend that.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So it's, but in terms of your systems and how you defend, it's more about your edges, really. But the ruck hasn't changed, really. You know, I look at a couple of teams at the moment. I look at the Sharks. For me, the best place to set your defence is from marker. So if you're controlling the ruck and your markers are set, it's the first chance where you get to be proactive as a defensive unit. And if your markers aren't set, the 9 steps out, then all of a sudden you're sitting on your heels and you're being dictated to by the attacking team. So there's a couple of teams in there, and the Cowboys are one of them. You've got to look after your front door, get your groundwork right, get your markers set, and then you can impose your defence. But on the Cowboys, it's their edges where they've looked really vulnerable. And maybe playing in Townsville's not necessarily what works for them, because it is a faster track. It's a faster game. It's a drier game generally, especially in the winter months when they don't get as much rain. So it'll be interesting to see how that advantage works in their favour.
Yeah, wait and see. Jimmy, are you a for and against guy when it comes to resting Origin players? Because some teams did it en masse on the weekend. Brisbane went, nah, you're not travelling over to New Zealand, but you can understand that. A few of their players have had injuries. You look at like a Xavier Coates, and he's had a hamstring issue this year, and he backs up. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if it was the same one, but he pings another one. Whereas you look at a guy like Jaden Sewer, who was, I thought, unreal for the Dragons yesterday, and the Roosters had I think all their Origin stars. What's the right thing to do? Is it purely case by case?
It's situational.
Yeah.
And obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, would you have played Xavier Coates? The fact that he got injured, no. But there's a team of medical staff there that would be advising on selection, looking at higher risk of injury from backing up, especially in those high-speed positions out on an edge there. So the one that surprised me was Angus Crichton. Obviously, it's 5 days, but he was a high contribution in that State of Origin game. And for me, sometimes you've got to look at who you're playing. In terms of that, it's all situational. So the situation of where you are on the table, but the situation of who you're playing as well. For me, the Cowboys, I think they looked at it, Penrith away, and probably just went, well, we'll just put a line through this because there's no point in us backing our players up to go to Penrith and likely get beat.
But then Penrith did that too.
And then, so they announced, and then I think basically 24 hours later, Ivan Cleary went, well, we'll go with what you're going. So there were a few surprises. The Broncos heading across the Tasman on an international flight and everything that comes with it. Absolutely. You can't play those players. It's strange that the Broncos have done this twice now, where the last 2 seasons, the game after Origin or in and around Origin, they travel over to play the Warriors.
It's not something that we look at when the draw comes out in November or whatever, but you can rest assured that Kevy Walters, when he got that draw, a swear word would have come out of his mouth again, JD. How do you weigh it all up as a coach when
Yeah, we had something similar last year when we travelled over there with Cam Murray was still in. No, he played in the game actually. He was in the middle of the Origin period before they picked the team for Origin 3. So travelling in New Zealand when you're in the middle of the Origin period is tough, particularly because they don't have anyone who plays Origin. You know, Barnett was as close as he come, and so when you get the Warriors away during an Origin period that it's going to be a tough ask. But Kevy, Toddy Payton, and Cleary, they would have made that decisions before the season started. They would have said, right, this is how it's going to look. This is where we'll get to rest our Origin players. Pick the game during the period that they're going to rest them in, and then just stay at that. I remember in 22, in my first year, I did that after Origin. I think it was Origin 3. After Origin 3, we went to Newcastle, and Damien Cook and Cameron Murray both didn't play. We said, right, we're going there. We're going to go without them, back ourselves to get it done because these guys need a rest. They need to get that.
Is that on science or is that on, feel and knowing the mental toll that it might take?
Oh, you can sit around and wait till after the game and go, okay, let me know how you feel after the game. And the challenge with that is that most times the player's going to tell you he's okay to play. So we're trying to take it out of his hands. Go, no, you're resting here. I remember telling Cam Murray, you're going away 5 days off, I don't want to see you. And he's like, we were 7-7 at the time, so it wasn't like we were flying. And I was like, no, you're not playing. And he said, are you sure? I said, yep, get away. Don't want to see you for 5 days.
Yeah.
Cookie was the same. And then we ended up winning the game, like very tight one, but, it was a really important win. But what allowed us them guys to come back, and we won 9 of our next 12 when they come back fresh, energised off the back of, finishing the Origin series off, putting that to bed and then coming back focused.
What it has done as well, I remember last year with Penrith, and it was an injury, but it was around that Origin period where Luai and Nathan were obviously heavily involved, and Jack Cogger stepped in, and then you look at grand final night and what happened in grand final time, and Jack Cogger all of a sudden can seamlessly step in and play that foil for Nathan to do what he does. So, Reed, it's given a lot of lesser-known lights a bit of a chance to establish themselves, not so much for the team that they're playing in, but perhaps for other clubs looking around.
Puts them in the shop window, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of the things I do love about this time of year. There's a lot of criticism of the standard of footy, and some games are poor. We've seen some bad games over this period, but you also get the opportunity to see some guys who you wouldn't normally see. And I think, for me, that's one of the ups. That's one of the reasons I wouldn't necessarily change this period. I wouldn't remove Origin and alter the way the draw is, because I actually enjoy seeing some of these guys get a chance. Some of these, particularly the young kids who get an opportunity and stand up at this time of year. It's one of the real positive offshoots of Origin being played now.
The other benefit is when you make that decision to leave them out, by the time when you're prepping for that game, everybody knows who's playing and who's not playing. Whereas otherwise, you're sitting around on a Wednesday night waiting to see whether your teammate gets through the game. How's he going to feel the next day? So usually they come in, you feel all right, okay, let you know tomorrow. Sometimes not until the day of the game where you actually know you're playing. So sometimes when you make that decision, you're clear on it, the whole team gets to prep, and you get some quality training, and you go down there and you know where you're at. So there's some advantages to resting them as well.
Geez, there must be some temptation though to change your mind sometimes.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Kevy would have been, given where they are at the moment, I think they've lost 3 in a row, is it? They're in real trouble.
I think they only leave Queensland twice, I think, for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So he would be factoring that in. They need to get on a run, but all they need to do is win 3-4 games in a row, and that team takes off. So
I do think they are one team who, and I know we say no one can win from outside the top 4, but I do think they are one team, if they've got everyone fit and on the field, they can win it from outside. I think they can win it from outside.
They haven't beat a top 4 team this year.
Yeah. Last year they beat plenty of them, Jimmy. And they haven't had Adam Reynolds for a lot of the year. They haven't had.
This is this seat abrasiveness coming out again. Go for it, Jimmy.
They haven't won a game since Magic Round.
I understand that, but I'm saying at some point it'll. I think it can click, and when it does click for them,
absolutely,
they're a team that can beat everyone.
But that's what we're all waiting for, isn't it?
Yeah. And it may never happen.
It's what they're waiting for.
It may not happen.
Yeah, we're waiting for Brisbane to click into gear. They've still got probably for them. I think. With the Origin being a decider, it's a bit of a disaster for them because their main players will be, missing again. They've got Penrith this week. Then they play the Dragons without their Origin players. So that's a winnable game, especially with no Lomax, Sewer, or Hunt for the Dragons. Then they play, backing up after Origin will be the Newcastle Knights, who
Ponga will be back then too, I'd say.
Ponga will, so they.
You putting a line through them, Jim?
I'm not putting a line through them.
Sounds like he's putting a line through
they're slipping it. They'll make the 8.
Okay.
But they're slipping into dangerous territory where the pressure comes in and it's sort of getting into must-win territory.
That's the thing about Brisbane, though. The pressure gauge up there will ramp up really quickly. If they drop 2 of their next 3 and are sitting 11th, 12th with 6 games to go, Rudy, you know what it's like up there in Brisbane. It'll ramp up very quickly. The eyeballs will be coming out everywhere, and plenty of opinions.
Bedell will be floating around.
Well,
Ryan will be turning the screw in the background.
Exactly.
with his Dolphins.
Just looking at it, if we're saying 30, you're going to need 13 wins this year. So to make the 8, they've got 9 games left. They'll need to win 6 of those 9, and let's say it goes that way next week. So they lose to Panthers and then beat the Dragons. That then leaves them needing to win 5 from 7.
So on the Dragons, are they the team that might be vulnerable who are in the 8 at the moment? They're only just in the 8. They go Roosters away, Brisbane away, Penrith at home, Melbourne away next month. Hunt, Lomax, Sewer, have I missed anyone? Involved in Origin, all of that. You'd say balance of probabilities, they're going to struggle. But I would have said that at halftime yesterday, running into that gale. And then they just didn't give, they just held the ball and had double the ball that the Dolphins did, forced them into errors, and were really clinical when they needed to be. So that to me looks like JD, a really well-drilled side who can focus when they need to.
Yeah, you got to give Shane Flanagan a lot of credit, don't you? He's done a great job, made some astute signings, but he's got them believing that they can play finals. That's the biggest challenge. And going back to comparing that to where the Broncos are at, the Broncos know they should be in the top 4. And if you're not, and the pressure starts going the other way, and then you start fearing losing, and that puts some anxiety on your performances. You don't execute as well. The Dragons are the opposite to that, and the same with the Bulldogs at the moment. There was no expectation on them to make the 8, so every time they pick up a win, you could see the excitement and the energy at Cogra yesterday after the game, and how important they knew that 2 points was. So, confidence and momentum is a big thing this time of year, and the Dragons are starting to build that.
I think I think that 7th, 8th spot will come down to for and against. I think that hurts them. They're minus 30. I think them and the Knights, that for and against is going to hurt them. But I think it's that tight. I reckon it'll come down to, I think you have multiple teams on the same points around 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So they need to improve that for and against quickly. You
know what the Dragons are? They're wet trackers as well.
Mate, they were into a dead set tornado yesterday.
Yeah.
A tornado in the second half, and they...
Charlie was a bit wet.
They play the power game, don't they?
It was a 10.5 pointer on the Reed scale. Reed scale of points.
Cogra can get windy.
That was so annoying in commentary, listening to you.
Mate, it was a howling gale, I'm telling you.
Mate, it was whistling through the mic, was it?
Oh, no, it was just... But, we crossed to Reedy for a bit of info, what was going on pitch. Poor old Jeremy Marshall-King, all our listeners are dying to find out, what if he's coming back, and Reedy was just complaining about how cold it was. He just... and used one of my most frustrating quotes. This is the temperature, but it feels like this.
It's the Weather Bureau, Jimmy. That's from the official Weather Bureau statistics.
Well, it's nonsense. You put a jumper on or a coat, and then you feel a bit warmer. It drives me insane.
Weather zone right now, it says it's 13.2. But it feels like 9.9.
Well, guess what? It's not. For me in this room, it feels a lot warmer. If I go outside and put a jacket on, it drives me insane.
How do they know that? Is there just one person who goes out and goes, it feels like 9. Put it down for 9.
But they were really good. That breeze was quite strong in the second half yesterday, the Dragons. They were really good in this. I mean, the Dolphins were poor, right?
It's a beautiful summer's day in the northwest of England. What are you complaining about?
But the Dragons were really good in the second half. I was really impressed with the way they played, particularly Jaden Sewer. I mean,
Roosters.
He was enormous.
Centers.
Yeah. He was so good.
Be horrible.
Well,
they
got that. They learned their lesson.
Yeah.
The Dragons against the Roosters when Moses Suli went down, and then against the Bulldogs as well. They lost their Eisenhuth went there both times and got really exposed. Not much in attack, but this time I think Flanagan's seen that if that change in the outside back needs to happen. Sue is the man to go in there.
I think the message came from Eisenhuth. He said, there is no way I'm going out there, he said to Flano. Don't put me out there again.
Hey, Roosters, that was very good. Very, very good. Showed up for the coach, his 300th. It's not a huge thing, numbers in rugby league compared to AFL. It's like this big hullabaloo made of it. I don't know if the Roosters made anything of it. Certainly Trent Robinson probably wanted his team to focus, and focus they did. Reality check for the Tigers? Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think we always said the next 3 weeks would be more of an indication about how much they've progressed, because they've got Melbourne and the Sharks as well, I think, in the next 2 weeks. But it's a difficult one because a couple of sin binnings, and I thought they were tough. I mean, Api Coruscant didn't even get charged over that lifting tackle.
Hasn't been charged.
They didn't get charged, and he got sin binned. So I think that's a hard call. The Dewey one, I could sort of live with it, the sin binning, but
what's difficult, really, about it in terms of makes a difference to you reckon that makes a difference to the result? 26-0.
I think it affects the scoreline maybe a little bit.
26-0. They're pouring through their middle third.
Yeah.
They're scoring tries for fun, the Roosters.
Yeah.
I think, if Wayne doesn't speak through the week, we're not having this conversation. You know, it's their sin bins. I think the Api Coruscant sin bin's ridiculous, and I thought the same the week before. Was it Tuivasa-Sheck?
Yep.
Was it Tuivasa-Sheck? No.
It was. He got
sin
sin
bin.
bin.
For lifting
the Gold
tackle.
Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, for tackling someone too hard.
The issue,
But
to me,
I
the
get it
issue
if it
is-
was 18 all or 22-18 with 10 minutes to go, 12 minutes to go. It was 26-0.
Yeah,
They were getting destroyed through the middle third, which the Roosters can do. The Roosters are red hot at the moment.
So you said Wayne. By the way, that's an article that Wayne Bennett did with Paul Crawley, foxsports.com.au, and basically saying the state of the referees is confusing him and annoying him and all of these things. And
most of it's incorrect, because most of the time it's not the referee making the call; it's the people in the bunker that are directing the referee. Because the referee, you miss so much in real time. There was a couple
about the 6 again, though, with the referees.
No, he's talking more about the sin bins.
Yeah,
his biggest thing, which a lot of coaches will understand, is it's having a big impact on the game. The sin bins. So he's saying, okay, keep the sin bins for foul play, for professional fouls only. And if it's foul play and it's not a send-off, then let the match review committee deal with it through the week.
I don't agree with that. I think you should still have sin bin for some foul play. But I reckon the issue at the moment is the bar's so low, there's sin binning for people that... And there's two issues.
Being re-refereed.
One is the bar's become so low that they're sin binning people for things that they shouldn't be sin binning for, like the Api Coruscant one, right? And the second thing is the disparity between what some people in the bunker consider a sin bin and what others don't. Like, we talk about consistency. You're never going to get consistency, right? There's always going to be some inconsistency.
You can.
Because people are inconsistent, Jimmy.
No,
this is my gripe. But the issue at the moment is it's wildly inconsistent.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
You can get consistency, but trust me, you don't want it, because the only way to get there is to referee the game by the rules, the laws of the game.
Yeah.
So you have to go.
Even then, you're not going to be consistent, Jimmy.
You have to nitpick, and you have unfortunately, our game isn't black and white. There's laws of the game.
The sin binning. Sin binning, you're not going to get consistency in sin binnings. You're not going to, because you've got different people in the bunker at different times, and they will make different. It's like you and I watching an incident, and you'll go, "That's a sin bin," and I'll go, "It isn't."
No, I know, but if I say, "Here's the law of the game," if the
but
player,
some people could look at the law differently, Jimmy.
You get more
interpret it differently, view it differently.
No.
The Api Coruscant one proves it.
No,
because someone in the bunker thought that was a sin bin.
Yes, because they're going on the directive that he was put into a dangerous position, i.e. above the horizontal, which to the law of the game he was.
But another referee might look at that in the bunker and go, "Well, no, I don't think that's a sin bin."
Was he above the horizontal? Did he go past the horizontal?
I think
but that's not an automatic sin bin.
Well, it's clear that it is this year. That's what. Apart from State of Origin,
yes,
because there was one in State of Origin, so that was refereed differently. If you want consistency, the law of the game then needs to be, if it goes above the horizontal, it will be like JD referenced Wayne's article. It goes to the match review committee, or if it goes above the horizontal, you are sin binned. And then we all know what we're playing with. The way to get consistency, people think they want it. Trust me, they don't.
No.
Because you have to apply the laws of the game to every single incident. You'd be a penalty every single ruck, which would be playing the ball, not playing the ball properly. You think you want it. Trust me, you don't want to know how to get there.
I think one way you can get it more consistent is to make one person every week is in the bunker.
Same person.
Every week.
Big weekend.
Well, that's how you get consistency.
Pay them accordingly.
We'll pay
You're
them
going to get
accordingly.
paid.
You have to pay them Red Bull to keep them awake.
You're the bunker man, you know, or you.
I don't want to be the bunker
every
man.
alternate week.
You know the problem with that, though, JD?
Because then he's going to view it the same in his head every time, as opposed to somebody else one week. Someone else comes out, oh, yeah, it's lifting, but it's not a sin bin.
Yeah.
The Coruscant one, for me, it's not a sin bin because he doesn't drive him.
Yeah.
Like if you lift and then drive and you show intent to take him to the ground after you've lifted him and drive him into the ground, that's what I always thought resulted in a sin bin or a send-off. Whereas Coruscant lifts him and the top guy lets go and they just let him go and he lands in a difficult position. But again, that's interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've found someone to join people who are in the police force, ambos, paramedics, doctors who work in hospitals, and also preschool teachers who people who really deserve their annual leave. I reckon bunker guy by the end of the year, if they're sitting in there every weekend watching 8 games of footy, by the time they get to October, he deserves to have, or she deserves to have the rest of the year off and then a little bit into the start of next year until
And
March.
no one knows who it is. That's the best thing.
Oh, okay.
No, there is a bunker man. The NRL knows who it is.
Oh, you keep it personal
Wow.
secret.
No one knows who the bunker man
Now
is.
we'll get out.
They
It's rugby
know
league.
he's got to wear an Iron Man suit.
That would be amazing.
Now,
Like
that's a good
everyone's like,
idea.
"Is it you?"
It's like the Masked Singer.
Or like you're like, "Hey, Reedy, fancy a beer on Saturday night?"
Sorry, pal.
I've got something on.
Busy all weekend.
Imagine the sweepstakes for trying to guess who the bunker man is. I know a bloke who's every weekend he's never available.
Except for after 6 p.m. on Sunday night.
Yeah.
It suddenly becomes
Thursday to Sunday, you can't get him.
Okay, a couple of questions, and I'll base it on seedings as well. So, Stefano Oitokomanu, who's number 1 seed to get his signature at the moment, Reedy?
Yeah. Ooh,
Was it in your
It's
mail?
a bit of a hard one. No, it wasn't.
Good.
If Stefano's willing to move into state, I'd say Melbourne because he wants to go to a contender, and I think they're the real contender that's genuinely got an interest in him. Otherwise, you know what? He may might stay for one more year at the Tigers.
Okay. Wait and see.
Don't be surprised if that happens.
I wouldn't sign him for 1 year if I was the Tigers.
Wouldn't let him do
I'd
it.
let him go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're either you're jumping in or you're jumping out,
Okay.
because we're going to go through this circus again in 12 months' time.
You get married or you're not just
Dog-
prolonging the engagement.
The Dogs are the other one who are hovering. They're not officially in yet, but they're monitoring proceedings. But
Put
if
it
the
this-
price gets too high, they're
Do you think
jumping
another
out.
club would be happy to sign him for 1 year and
No.
see how it works?
no,
Exactly.
probably not. Yeah.
Probably not. Mind you, what
The-
if
the-
a contender came? No, it's too late.
Well,
now.
would
It's
the
past June
idea
meeting.
be that the Tigers keep him for a year and then maybe convince him that they were good enough?
Yes,
to
that would
stay?
be the idea. Yeah.
Like
They'd have to. The only way you'd be able to do it is say, okay, you've got till the end of April, and then this is 1 year with this option beyond that. Because if it's a negotiate, not renegotiate the following year, then that just brings a circus. Okay, this is 1 year with an agreed 3-year extension, but you got to let us know by April if you're taking it.
We've talked about a few contenders here. So my next seeding question is, with Wimbledon about to start, who's the number 1 seed in the NRL at the moment?
Penrith.
Penrith?
Oh.
You answered that as if that was a
It's emphatic,
really
wasn't it?
dumb question. You did. You looked at me as if with disdain.
I'm glad you interpreted it that way because it is.
Okay.
Penrith are streets ahead at the moment.
Streets.
No, I don't agree.
Mate,
JD?
No.
with their experience, they like the fact that they've been there, done that. They're going to be so hard to beat
Yeah.
in September. Like it's set up for them again. Fisher Harris moving on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Luai moving on. Like they've got all the motivating factors to win it. If Cleary coming back fresh, like that's a nightmare for the rest of the comp.
I said at the start of the season, I felt like last year there was a lot of talk about the Roosters and they were Premiership favourites last year, and I didn't see that last year, and I felt like they were probably a year away. And then you look at the guys that have come through over the last 12 months, Nafanu White, Terrell May, those guys are in the development of Sam Walker again. And you talk about motivation, well, you've got Keary, Hargraves, Joey Manu, all those guys moving on. And we just spoke about it earlier, just coached his 300th game. I don't think he gets enough credit for how great a coach he's been over the last decade. Trent Robinson, I think they're the biggest challenge to Penrith.
Are they number one seeds, though?
They can't beat them, though.
Well, I think they've got the game to beat them. And I think the way they're playing a lot less structured than they have over the last few years. They've got some big front rowers. I mean, they're playing Victor Radley in the back row because they can.
Yeah.
He's one of the best 13s in the game, and he's playing back row because they've got that much power coming through the middle third. So Angus Crichton at the moment, arguably the best back rower in the game. And if those guys can keep going, they'll definitely take it to Penrith.
I'll tell you who else they can't beat, Melbourne. Why is everyone putting a line through Melbourne? They're 4 points clear at the top of the ladder without Munster.
Brent Bellamy.
Without Pappenhausen for most of the year. No Munster.
I'll take back the Penrith streets ahead. They're not... Not streets. There are a couple of houses.
I've argued well.
There are a couple of houses ahead.
The look you gave me when I asked that question was this to say there are not any other teams in the comp.
They're the number one seed, yeah?
Okay, yes.
Right? Okay, they're the number one seed, and obviously
but not clearly.
Great
Melbourne won't have to leave
great
Melbourne
cases for Melbourne and Roosters.
Melbourne won't have to leave Melbourne till grand final day, and Craig Bellamy's record over Trent Robinson is ridiculous.
They need Munster back.
Yeah. I think he's won like 12 straight against the Roosters.
They need Munster
it's insane,
back.
their record.
We'll keep asking that question.
They've got some tough fixtures coming home, so if they're still minor premiers at the end of the season, they'll definitely be favourites. They've got Penrith still to play. They've got Roosters. They've got the Cowboys, Broncos in Queensland. So they've got some big games coming up.
And Munster to come back.
We'll switch focus
That's
now.
the key.
Yeah.
Now, the WTF moment.
I'm going to start this one. And obviously, it's not a visual medium totally, this podcast. It is a podcast as well. I think it's on YouTube, isn't it? Yep, cool. But I'll play this for you just to listen to the ferocity in this hit. I do not know where it's from, JD. You seem to think it could be Southeast Queensland.
Yeah, it looks like Tweed's home ground.
Yeah.
Pick a bean.
Okay.
I've been to that rubbish place a few times, but I'm not certain. It looks like it.
Well, for a dude who's got blonde hair who thought it was a good idea to run into what looks like a moving brick wall, because this happened. That was from 30 metres away, that sound, and it still picked it up. That was a rather large hit, and the 18 with the blonde locks somehow got up. Not entirely sure what year he thought it was when he got up, but he got up, and that's the main thing. He ran into, as I said, a moving block of flats. That was an incredible hit.
And he ran hard too.
Yes.
There was no handbrake in his run. He went full on and got what he deserved, but credit to him.
I think he might bring into his game a little bit of late footwork next time somehow.
Might be better.
Word to Martin Lang, just to develop that little bit of footwork.
Yes. Who wants next? WTF?
There you go. What do you got?
I mentioned a little bit earlier, reading Wayne's article with Paul Crawley about the sin bins and what needs to change and all that sort of stuff. And while I understand and can get what he's talking about, I don't like that when coaches come out mid-season about changing things, because I think it's not something that can happen now without interfering in the integrity of the competition, especially we come up to round 18 this week. But it's interesting since then that Ricky Stewart has his issues post-game. Benji Marshall spoke post-game. Trent Robinson referenced it as well. And mainly the journos who, off the back of that article, are raising it. So it's going to be a week of beating up the referees again, which, I'm not a fan of it.
I don't see how it improves their performance, personally. If you now change something, you confuse them more. It's hard enough. Yeah,
well, it just can't. Well, they're going to have to stay the course now, and then in October, coaches will get together and have their gripes on things they think need to be changed or improved. But
what's that meeting like?
It's pretty good, actually. It's like, they just sit down and go, okay, you've got opportunity to let them know the things that you don't like. And generally, most coaches they're pretty much on the same wavelength.
Until they get into a press
Does everyone
conference.
get a 10? Does it,
no, you just
everyone gets their 5 minutes.
It's like the debate, like the presidential debate.
Yeah, it's like the screen, the Zoom screen, all the faces are on there, but most of them are on mute. No one's you put your hand up to speak. But no, it's important that you feel like your voice is being heard if you've got something you want to talk about. But generally, one of the coaches will bring something up, and it's done in usually 4 or 5 coaches at a time. It's not everyone at the same time, but and they'll usually have some headings around what topics they want you to discuss. But It's been something that's contributed to the change of the 6 again rule. If you remember, it was a 6 again all the way up the field, and coaches were pretty strong on changing that as in terms of yardage because teams just couldn't get out of their end.
Yeah.
There's been some good results out of it.
Fair enough. WTF?
It's got an international flavour.
Here we go. Euros?
Involves England.
Oh, my God. You are seriously... Like, how on earth are you out of that hole? Slovakia.
I'm not talking about that.
Oh.
This is a sad one. International Rugby League. England played France.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed.
What happened?
About 300 people turned up.
Really?
Mate, it's an absolute disgrace. Like, I love the international game.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful.
Where was the game?
Embarrassing. In Toulouse. Watch it. It's on KO. It's available on KO. It looks like
there's more people at the ground.
It's actually embarrassing.
Wow.
It is so bad.
What
the
was
crowd.
the score? Who won?
England won, but it's not even about the performance. The level of production in the television, like to showcase this international game. My WTF moment is getting up to put that on, and I just you can't
when was
watch
it? I
it.
didn't even know it was on.
Well,
with all due respect,
that's it. Well, people don't. People in England did. They played it in Toulouse, and honestly, it's available on KO. So you put it on and tell me that you are not gobsmacked when you see the crowd.
It's a shame because the French put up a good fight too.
In Toulouse as well.
In Toulouse, which is a rugby league area, so a rugby union and rugby league, but it's a big rugby area. So and they're fighting for an opportunity to come back into Super League. So you'd think they'd want to show their hand and have decent numbers turn up to the ground. So I'm interested to see why that's the case. I don't know what in terms of summer break and holidays and all that sort of thing.
It's just
is over there, but they obviously haven't publicised it.
It is so bad. I considered not bringing it up because I'm embarrassed by the number of people that are there, and I didn't want to showcase it. But the International Rugby League or England Rugby League, whoever it is.
So they played a women's game.
Get
as well
that sorted out. It was a double header. It's embarrassing.
Here we go. Well, Reedy goes. I've called it up.
I'll give a shout out to Jude Bellingham's goal in the England game this morning. Cracking goal. Great overhead. Listen, mine's got a bit of an English flavour as well. Will Pryce scored a try and debut on the weekend, but it's not Will Pryce, it's his dad Leon, who I don't know if he's been back in Australia, but I remember when he toured here many, many, many years ago, and he famously said, "I'd rather be at Blackpool Beach than Bondi."
Yep.
And it was the back page of the paper. Leon,
because Australians don't have a sense of humour.
Oh, was he joking? Was he? Sounded very serious.
Maybe what?
But Blackpool
you're
Beach, that's where they go with the camels, right? The camels are on the beach, and
some great bars
they defecate all over the beach. And
go to Blackpool, you'll have a right time.
You'll have a very good time in Blackpool.
Well, anyway, Leon was back in the country, so welcome back, Leon. Great to see you, buddy. I'm really happy for your son.
I'm catching up with him on Friday.
Give him my best.
I will do. Just on that, you can either joke, so you can't take a sense of humour, and your weather it feels like this. It's not.
Imagine how cold it'd feel on Blackpool Beach.
Hang on, you said it feels like it's 7 degrees. Well, it's not. You can feel like you enjoy Blackpool more than Bondi.
Anyway, it's great to see Leon. He looks in good shape, Leon.
Is there a story around a Mad Monday involving you and Jimmy, Leon?
Is it?
Oh, yeah. There is, yeah. Yeah, him and Gilmore and Fozzard. Fun times.
Something to do with shaved eyebrows or hair colouring?
Hair colouring, yes. So, lots of fun. It's not for her. It's not for her. But no,
Will Pryce had a good game, though.
He did have a very good game.
He looked really good. He's sharp.
Yeah.
His dad was a good player too, mate.
Yeah. He's going to get some people running at him, Will, over the next few weeks, I suspect. But
just on you, I've looked at this crowd, and there's more people at a Ron Massey Cup game on the weekend than at that test
How
match.
bad is it?
It looks like a great little venue. So I don't know what they've done with the promote. Like right size, if you're going to get, looks like it maybe holds about 12,000, 13,000, perhaps. Fill it to the brim, play it at night. Probably is at night,
how bad is that?
Not great.
Toulouse in Championship average about 3,000 or 4,000 people to all their home games. That's in the division below Super League. So, it's weird that they didn't have many there.
I went to a test match there, Australia test match against France years ago, yeah.
What year?
Would have been 2001 or 2002.
Oh, wow. Way back.
2002 or 2003.
That's when overseas tours were overseas
I
tours.
think Wayne was the coach. Oh, no, Wayne was the coach. Actually, Robbo was coach. We met him over there. He was coaching
France.
He was coaching in France, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Went to
Hey,
dinner with him. That's
righto.
when we got on.
When
a
you
while
got
ago.
on.
Yeah.
Bin you
Anyway.
now. Queensland, ready?
Yeah, what's up?
How many changes are you making?
We're Queenslanders. We're still Queenslanders.
Okay, so you're going to play Xavier Coates on
We
one
got-
leg, are you?
Well, he probably could play on one leg because he's Queenslander, as Billy would say. But yeah, we'll make a couple, obviously. I mean, Cobbo was back at the weekend and played pretty good, I thought, in a beaten team. So I would have thought he'd come straight in. And I would have said I'd have pushed Jaden Sewer to the bench and brought Dave Fafita in, but Jaden Sewer was pretty good. So I think Dave Fafita's got to come in somewhere.
Yeah.
And I reckon beyond that, maybe, well, I've got to check how the hammer is actually. And he was
He's been
up
cleared,
there?
hasn't he?
He's been
Yeah,
cleared,
he's been cleared. If it's
Okay.
only AC, he'll be sweet by then.
So I reckon just Cobbo and Fafita and boom, Bob's your uncle, we're on. Back to the cauldron, 50,000 screaming Queenslanders, and you can't win there. 6 out of your last 7 you've lost, so good luck.
Well, as Madge says, it can be done, though.
Can be done, of course it can.
Yeah. But
Can
it's
be done.
not been done
Doesn't
for a
often
very long
happen, though.
time, and there's a reason for that.
But I think they're the obvious ones, right? I mean, Fafita and Cobbo, I'm not
You
sure.
don't have a lot of cattle to
No,
pick
and
from at
I
the
don't think Billy's doesn't strike me as the sort of guy who's going to just cut a swathe through the team because that's not sort of the line he's preached for so long.
He
So
got absolutely annihilated through the middle third.
yeah,
How does he fix that?
well, I just got to play better.
I think he can fix it just by tweaking who starts and who comes off the bench as well, rather than necessarily changing personnel. For me, if I'm putting Kafusi in and I'm only using him for 10, 15 minutes, then let him rip and tear at the start because he's an aggressive footballer, Felice, and he'll absolutely take that challenge on. So there's an opportunity for him to do that there. But for Fafita, for me, has been the one who needs to come in. You know, because he gives it. We spoke about what Latrell does when he comes. It's not just what he does when he's involved, it's his presence. He takes flies off other people, creates more space for Crichton and more space for Luai, and Fafita does the same thing.
Just
So-
start him instead of Nanai or Sui, you reckon?
Yeah, I think, Nanai is a bit more of that attacking player and not the aggressive defender, although he defends well. But, yeah, you've got the option to put one of those on the bench and keep one on and then have some strike, whether you start Sewer and Fafita and then bring Nanai off the bench as the game opens up a bit more. But he definitely needs to have a thought on how we stop or how we protect the front door and get control of that ruck early. Because just the crowd alone ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how you one game and everybody wants to react and wants to change? And just how much even with New South Wales, it was the same.
It's a great furphy that doesn't happen in Queensland, Jimmy. Everybody goes, New South Wales, they turn on their players and call for heads when they lose, and it doesn't happen in Queensland. It's rubbish.
But
if you lose and you lose like that,
Yeah.
doesn't matter which state you're from, people are going to react the way
then-
they react.
I think it's both games though. I don't think it's just
Yeah.
the first 40 minutes. With 12 men, for 20, 25 minutes of the second half, New South Wales dominated in the physical stakes in Origin 1. And if Leniu scores, that game can open right up with 12 men. So I think there's enough in the first game and the second game to go, okay, we need to tweak our pack a little bit here.
Talking of changes and state of origin, so before the Origin series begun, you've got some people where you could make a strong case that New South Wales didn't have many walk-up starters in terms of who would definitely be picked if everyone's fit. Cam Murray was an example of that came straight in for Cam McInnes, who, my observations was he was very good in a beaten team with only 12 men. One of those players that would have been in that category of walk-up starters in New South Wales, find a position for him, is Tommy Trbojevic. But how much is that one game in Melbourne going to affect his chances of playing?
No, he's no hope.
You're the
unless
Manly
there's an
fan,
injury.
so I shouldn't ask you because
I don't want him to play.
Exactly.
No
I
chance.
don't think it's that though. I think it's the emergence of Stephen Crichton. I think Stephen Crichton's arguably one of the best players in the competition at the moment. He's definitely one of the best defensive centres in the game, and you need that. We saw when he switched over to the right hand side in Origin 1, the difference that made with 12 men to holding that edge together, and they were rock solid in Origin 2. So you can't leave him out, and they've only just brought Latrell in, so.
Easiest choice of all time.
Potentially a spot on the bench, maybe instead of Connor Watson. But what
Could
are
he
you
play
going?
on the wing?
But who are you going to leave out?
You can't drop Lomax. You
You can't
can't
drop
drop
why-
Lomax, and you
why
can't
not?
drop Tyler because they've been
Lomax.
they've played both games well, both of them.
Because he's firstly at the moment, Zach Lomax, every time you put the ball in the air, he's a 90% chance of coming down with it, and Toto makes 200 yards or metres a game.
So 3 weeks ago,
yeah,
if Tommy was fit, does he play game one?
it's
Well,
like that
but
famous...
he's not fit. He's not fit.
Yeah, but
And that's the reason why they won't pick him.
Jimmy,
because
it's
the
like
risk,
that-
the
okay,
risk
this-
of him breaking down is too high in an Origin.
but 3 weeks ago, before Origin 1, if he'd have been fit, he would have been in the team
you would have said,
without a shadow.
Yep.
And then after game 1, if he'd have been fit, he would have played game 2 because of the.
potentially come in instead of Latrell. Yeah.
If
And then now New South Wales win. Like, it's almost like how could you even question bring? It's one game that they've won, and it's almost irrelevant what they achieved in Melbourne. Like, they've got to go. Madge's got to pick a team to go up and win a game in Queensland. If you're picking that team, forget what's done is done. Do you find a spot for a person like Tommy Tebojevic?
I think, like we spoke about with Queensland, it's not just the one game, though. Like, New South Wales were building something in that first game, and Madge spoke about that through the week, and he spoke about it post-game, and the players who come in bought into that, so they've collectively taken that forward again now. So the only way you're bringing someone else in now is if you need to, or I'm sure he'll probably invite Turbo into the camp in the 22-man squad if he's available, but
keep him away.
keep him away.
Just keep him rehabbing on the
Manly
beach.
definitely want him to stay away,
Just
but
solid, like,
and
no.
again, we got a round of NRL to get through first.
Yeah.
We saw what happened on the weekend with Coates. So the full round to get through first, but a full fit Turbo is definitely an added addition to the 22-man squad.
Yep, for Manly. Here we go.
Reedy's Mail.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
This is brilliant.
Sorry. Plenty.
It's your segment, mate.
Sorry. I was just texting someone. Sorry.
Mate, your phone went off before. You nearly shoulder charged me out of my chair. You were in such a rush to get out.
Well, there's plenty going on at the Roosters.
It was Rupert
today.
Murdoch, that's why.
Plenty happening at the Roosters, obviously. Angus Crichton, bit of news this morning. Angus has agreed to a two-year extension. It's been ongoing this for a long time.
800
Been in
G.
talks around the $800,000 mark.
Good on you, Gussie.
Obviously, looked like he was going to French rugby at one point. He was in negotiations with French rugby. Obviously, found some form, and the Roosters decided they wanted to keep him. And it's now reached a point where they've reached an agreement, expected to be announced in the next 24 hours. But what that means is it now has repercussions for a couple of blokes. One is Stefano, because if the Roosters didn't agree to terms with Angus Crichton, I believe their backup target was Stefano. I know they play different positions, but the view was that got a lot of back rowers at the club, and if they didn't re-sign Angus, they would look at Stefano potentially to strengthen the middle. As it stands, they've now kept Angus Crichton, and the focus will switch to Satili Tupanua, who has basically been given permission to go and explore his options. Hasn't officially been told he can leave yet, but he's been told go and see what's out there for you. We'll make a decision after the Angus deal's done. The Angus deal's now done, so we'll now work out what happens with Satili Tupanua. And I'd expect this to be done pretty quickly. I reckon there's two clubs in the mix for him. Canterbury and Manly are the front runners for Satili Tupanua. It was a report.
The players need to be shuffled around for that to kind of.
No, well, Manly obviously know Schuster. They've got the Schuster money.
Okay.
And the Bulldogs have got a bit of cap room. So both those clubs, I believe the Dogs probably got their nose in front there, but that'll all be resolved in the next couple of weeks, I reckon. Handy signing, Satili?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his best footy's still ahead of him. He's still young. A few head knocks, a few injuries have held him back a little bit, but yeah, he's definitely a player. And it's tough to see him leave the Roosters, but it's a fair pack he's been squeezed out of. There's no shame in that, that's for sure.
And also at the Roosters, I've got to get his name right, Mark Nwanga Tiazi. The rugby kid, the rugby
Marky
union.
Mark.
Marky Mark, we'll call him for the sake of argument.
That's what all the rugby boys call him.
Save our headaches. So the Roosters have signed him for next year on a 2-year deal. They were trying to get him early, and then he got picked in this the Olympic Sevens train-on squad. Now looks as though he's going to make that squad. They're naming on Wednesday. And the Roosters are trying to get him, when he comes back from the Olympics, to be eligible to play for them. Now, obviously, there's a June 30 cut-off date for signing players.
It's called a rule.
Yeah, it's a rule. I understand that. So it sounds like this is going to get the green light probably later today.
What?
Yeah. There's a couple of conditions that'll be put on him. One is that during the life of his deal with the Roosters, he can't go off and play rugby sevens again. He's got to stay with the Roosters.
Yeah.
And the second one is, as I understand it, there needs to be some sort of guarantee that he hasn't played professional rugby league before. And that's obviously to prevent players who potentially down the track want to go rugby league, rugby union, rugby league, rugby union, right? So they're among the conditions that will be put on him. It sounds like he'll obviously meet them. And the Roosters and the NRL have been in talks for a while about this, and I expect this will get the green light. He will be eligible to come back after the Olympics and play for the Roosters.
So even though all this is going to happen post June 30.
Well, they'll register the deal. So his contract will be registered this afternoon, I'd say.
But it's July 1 already.
I understand that, but I think that paperwork was already in there. There's just some further paperwork that to deal with.
Backdated.
Like in the old days.
Yeah.
That's what they do in the English Premier League, don't they? With some of those transfers, backdate them. But it's
Backdated
there's going to be. You're not
tax
happy about
purpose.
it. There's going to be some clubs who aren't happy about it. About the fact
it's
that
June
this is
30
allowed
for
to happen.
like the Roosters knew July 1 last year that there was a June 30 deadline.
Yeah.
So why can't they get it done? Like they've signed this guy ages ago.
Do it on Friday.
Like,
well, but I think what's slowed it is they've obviously been in talks with the NRL about whether. Well, two things.
Well, the sevens.
One, they don't name the seventh squad until Wednesday, I think it is, July 3.
But it doesn't sound like that's going to affect
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter now.
That's their rules, and this is our rules.
But they've also been locked in talks with the NRL about whether this can happen and how feasible it is.
What's locked in? Yeah, they can or you can't. And get it done by June 30.
Well, there's some grey areas around this, Jimmy.
There's no grey area around
There's rules and laws of the game.
The grey is he's not a rugby league player, so that's probably. But if they've lodged it beforehand, I don't know. But what cap level has he come in at as well? That's
again, that would have been something they would have to deal.
Well, he's on decent coin next year. Like they've got the Joseph money. Obviously, this guy can play. By the way, I don't know if you've seen much of him, JD. He can move, and he's going to be a really good outside back.
Wow. Roosters
another outside
Jimmy,
back, just what they need.
Penrith, are they still odds on? Or?
They're just next door. That's what, not streets ahead, not houses ahead. They're actually next door now, the Roosters. Hey, you know what? Lodging contracts. I was listening to you'd find this interesting.
What do you got?
Listening to a podcast with Roy Keane.
Yep.
He agreed, shook hands with Blackburn, with Kenny Dalglish. Yeah. They couldn't lodge the contract because the secretary had left.
On transfer deadline day?
No. This is before they agreed. They shook hands. Kenny Dalglish said, "Yeah, sweet. Oh, we can't lodge the contract." Friday night, the lady,
Doris has gone to the social club.
She's gone away. She's finished for the day. She's left. All right, okay. Come back in Monday. We'll sort the deal out. Ferguson calls him up on Saturday. Says, "Mate, you come to United." He's like, "Well, I've agreed with Blackburn." He says, "Have you signed anything?" He said, "No." Keno ends up going to
history
United.
is created
Just because someone was off work. That's an expensive day off, isn't it?
And just finally, I just literally got a text from the Dolphins now. So Jeremy Marshall-King is having scans tomorrow. He's got that foot injury. Can't really afford to lose him for any length of time.
On their season.
Yeah, huge for them. And the hammer, you're right, he could play this week, the hammer. So that's some good news for Queensland and the Dolphins.
Gentlemen, our time is done. JD, thank you. Have a great week.
Cheers.
Jimmy, Brent Read, you survived. Well done.
I'm just looking on Reedy's phone because he said the Dolphins text him.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not the Dolphins. I was trying to figure out who it was.
That's the Monday Scrum. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
He's in.